Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Today's Lunch and Learn session is all about speaking with influence and impact, which is a vital skill for anyone in business and can help you with many of your day-to-day activities. It could be as simple as sharing ideas at an internal meeting, presenting ideas to clients and prospects, or even just talking to peers. Or as in my case, I often find myself presenting to my team or my board, and I'd like to be able to do that in a more succinct manner. So to break it all down for us, I'd like to welcome the fabulous Diana Tapp, who is the CEO of World Class Teams. And Diana is a leadership and high performance teams specialist. So we're in super good hands. Welcome, Diana.
Thank you. Thanks, Stace. And welcome, everyone. Thank you for adding a learning session to your lunch today. I'm always appreciative of people doing that. And my job is to make sure it's super valuable so that you're happy that you're having lunch and learning at the same time. So I'm going to start by asking you to think of a couple of questions around this whole part about how do we influence people and how do we get what we want? Because I'm picking that most of us have probably been in a situation where you had a fantastic idea and you were dying to get it over the line with your boss and they squashed it. And did the, oh yeah, I see where you're coming from, but look at our smiles. It's like, yeah, been there. Or you've got this customer and you try so hard to think about a solution that's going to be absolutely best for them, and you come up with it and they're still not happy. Is that a situation that any of us have been in? We think, come on, I'm liking you, my tuition man. Yes. And it's that part where when we think about in the past how we talk about getting what we want, we traditionally use 4 techniques. None of them work very well. Okay, so we're actually going to unlearn some of those today and learn something new. And the ones that we tend to use is we ask questions like, would you mind thinking about this? Well, no, I don't really want to think about that. Would you mind? Or we say, this is what I recommend. We try to tell people. And as adults, we all hate being told, even if it's smart. Or we go, yeah, look, I can see we both think differently about this day, so let's just go for a compromise, which, think about it, is a euphemism for a lose-lose, isn't it? I lose and Stace loses, and we just each hope we don't lose too much. And the fourth thing we do is we try to persuade people. I really think this would be just awesome, Stace. Like, I really think it would be great for these 3 reasons. I don't know about you, but I reckon that I've persuaded probably 5 people in my entire life. We totally overrate persuade them. Yeah, but have you ever actually done that? So we ask, which gives people the opportunity to say no thanks. We tell, which people hate, so they don't want to do it. We compromise, which means we're all losing and we just hope we don't lose too much. Or we persuade, only we don't succeed in doing it. And they tend to be our techniques. And then we go, oh, it's a bit of a shame. I did my best, but I couldn't get it over the line. Or I did my best, but it's not my decision. That's called accepting the loss, and I want us to win. So if we're going to win, we need to learn to influence. Okay? And that's totally what today is going to be about. So I'm going to teach you the 5 steps to influence. You'll get, as Stacey said, you'll get the recording so you can go back and look at it. We're going to send you out a little cheat sheet tomorrow as well. So make notes. Please have your questions ready and just either pop them in the chat box or save them till the end. Definitely we'll answer them at the end so that I can share those techniques with you, because that way some questions might be answered on the way and some other more pertinent ones might pop up. So I'm going to share the PowerPoint with you so that you can see firstly, what are these 5 steps? And then we'll spend a little bit of time in each of those steps. Please know with me, I might smile a lot. That's part of who I am. However, I want you to ask the hard questions today. So if you're sitting, but I don't know if I could do that with this person, please use that as your question at the end, because that's how you're going to get the most out of it. Okay? And as we are going through these steps now, you will find it most useful if you've got that customer in your head who's a bit of a pain and it's really hard to get them to do anything, let alone what you want them to do. Or you've either got a current manager or have had one recently that they never say yes. Be thinking of that person, because as you think about applying these 5 steps to a specific person and a specific situation, it's really going to highlight the smart questions to ask. If we stay generic, it's like, it all makes sense. If we go, how would I do it with that person? That's when we'll really hit the mark. So I'll share the PowerPoint with you now so that you can see those steps. Of course, feel free to take notes, but equally know that you'll get the recording afterwards. So of course you'll have access to that, and it will also be on the cheat sheet. So where do we want to sit first? It's that whole part about influencing. Here are the 5 steps you need. So the very first one is always speak first. Okay? And I'm going to talk to you more about that. But as you can imagine, we've got this phrase in our society now that says, I'm talking to someone, and we're using our thumbs. You know, texting and writing emails is not talking to anyone. Talking is literally this thing. It's coming out of our mouths. So if we're going to influence anyone, we need to speak to them first of all. Then you need to know how to create a win-win. And I think that's something that we've done a lot of talk. Oh yeah, let's make a win-win. We don't do it very well. We do a lot of talking about how important it is, and then we try to make sure we win, and hopefully the other person wins as well. Not smart if we're going to influence people. We need to look confident, and both the verb and the noun is important. Looking confident is way more important than being confident, it turns out. And then I'm going to teach you a little technique that says yes and. So if you've had that squash from your manager, something, oh yeah, I see where you're coming from, but, well, that's, you might not have realized it, but there's some swear words in there. We're going to learn what those swear words are. We're going to learn the words to use instead. And then the last step is that ability to give options. And to be honest, I think for many of you, that'll be a massive aha moment. I so wish I had learned that at 28. It would have saved me an awful lot of time. I would have influenced a lot better as a 28-year-old than I did. I was still trying very hard to persuade with my best business case at that point. So those are our 5. Let's start off by looking at number 1, that speak first. So I've made it very, yes, emails are really useful as a follow-up, because most of us have got so many things happening at work, at life, that we don't hold all of that sitting in our memory bank. However, it's absolutely critical that if you're wanting to influence anyone, you speak first. And my absolute preference in that speaking is to make sure that you are face-to-face. Yes, a phone if it needs to be, but it's got to be face-to-face or phone. And I think one of the silver linings of COVID, and goodness, it's caused us some angst, we know, but one of the silver linings is exactly what we're doing now. We're much more relaxed now about using virtual medium, about using either Zoom or Teams, whatever you use in your organization. And while today, I know that it's really convenient and we get a good sense of each other, it would still be easier if we were literally in the same room. However, if you're on a one-on-one, you get jolly near the same ability to read body language as you do when you're absolutely face-to-face. So this kind of sense of, oh, we live in a big city, gosh, it takes so long to drive out to do that meeting. Well, you know what? You either drive out or you get yourself on Teams or Zoom. Because as you'll see in the little image coming up now, when you look at communication as a package, look at the pie chart there, only 10% of the message that you're sending is the words. So when you're listening to me now, the truth is 90% of the message that you're receiving is about my body language. And you've probably noticed already that I'm sitting back a little bit further than most of you. And that's so that you can see my shoulders, because there's a whole lot of body language going on from waist up. Okay. If my face is right in there, you miss out a whole lot of those, apart from the fact that you see my wrinkles, you don't see those shoulders, you don't get as much of the benefit of body language. So sitting back a little bit to have that massively, there's your 60% is the way that your facial expressions and your shoulders are looking. 30% is your tone, only that 10% is the words. So if you ever think you could influence somebody by sending an email, and you now see why that never works. Like, who wins with 10%? We win with 90, right? We win with 100. And the minute you're in front of somebody, you're now using that full package. On top of the fact that you're using that full package yourself, you're also seeing, if I come back to you for a moment now, you know, when we have this situation where we're face to face, and it's why I wasn't as nice as Stacey and said, everyone put your cameras on, please. It's because not only can you see me, but I can see you. So I can see, Heidi, that you get this. I can see Mr. High Street. We're going, yeah, this makes sense, right? Where if you're going, then I clearly haven't explained things very well. So not only do we get the benefit of people seeing our body language and hearing our tone of voice, we also get this massive benefit that we can see them. So you know whether it's going well or whether it's not going so well. Okay. So that first sense of always speak first, that is regardless, let me just say, regardless of how they ask you to communicate with them. So if somebody sends you an email and asks you a question and you want to get an outcome, there is no need, there is no rule that says they emailed me, so I have to email them. They emailed you. Now you choose to speak first. Hey, Luke, really happy to discuss that with you. Let's set up a time together. Do you use Zoom or Teams? Boom. Let me know a time, this one or this one. The more you can give people options in that space too, you also get that chance to say, oh, and would 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock be best for you, Luke? Great. Luke goes 4. Fantastic. Send him through the Zoom invite. Straight away, we're having a conversation together, Luke. And guess what? Then I can see his angst. He can see my sincerity, all of those lovely things that happen when we've actually got a real face-to-face connection with people. So that happens regardless. And notice I didn't say, oh, Luke, should we have that? Should we do that on Zoom? I said, hey, Luke, we'll meet on Zoom or Teams. Which one would you prefer? Right? Did you notice, in a sense, I didn't give him the option not to talk to me properly. I just said, do you want it to be Zoom or Teams? So in the same way we could do, would you like it to be a phone call or do you want to do it on Zoom? Would you like me to come out and visit you or shall we meet in a cafe? Think about those things so that Luke's got a choice in there, but the choice isn't, oh, please send me an email, Di, because I know that's not going to be a smart way to influence. Okay, so it's our first little one, and I think it's a small, as you'll see in all of these things, they're small things that make a massive difference. Because I'm sure if we look back, most of us have probably at several points tended to reply via email because the request or the inquiry came in on email. Try not to get ever sucked into that trap. Think, what's the most effective way? It's this stuff. It's speaking first. Yeah. So let me go back there and let's look at the next little slide in there. So our second step is create win-win. And notice that I've said create, because I think too often we go, oh yeah, let's hopefully make it a win-win. My absolute belief, and it's one of our tenets in our business and world-class teams, is we don't do anything that's not a win-win. So if we can't create a win-win, it means we shouldn't go there. And that means a win for us as a business. It also means a win for our clients as a business. Okay? And to be honest, I actually think now, particularly for people who come and want to get better, so the people who join us on Lunch and Learns, you're not people who are selfish. So I wouldn't mind betting that if there's not a win-win, the people losing are you and your business, and your clients are winning big time. And we're going, well, they're demanding that. It's absolutely right that our clients should get a win. If we're working with someone else in our business, it's absolutely right that that person, the marketing manager, whoever it might be, gets a win. And it's critical that you're getting a win too. And that win is, what do you want? So start off from, and I know this is a little bit challenging for us because most of us have grown up with put other people first. And it's a really lovely phrase to learn as a little child, that because it says, don't be selfish, right? Which is good. Societies run because people look out for each other. However, what tends to happen is we put everyone else, especially if the higher you are in an organization, the more, to be honest, if you're successful as an organization, we see people putting themselves last and everyone else first. And the difficulty of that is, sometimes everyone else is winning and we're losing. We can't run a business like that. We need to make sure that our customers are winning. Absolutely, we do. We need to make sure that we're winning too. So if you start with, what's the outcome I want? What do I want to get out of this? We should never be going into a conversation without knowing what we want to get out of it. Okay. So I know today that I want every single one of you to have 2 things that you're going to do differently this afternoon. That's the outcome I want. You think that's a win for you? That is the biggest drug on the planet for me, is a little message that says, hey, Di, I've been trying this and it's working. Yes. My husband sometimes thinks I'm on drugs and I go, yeah, they're legal. And those drugs are when people are now doing things better because they've learned something that we've done. That's the biggest buzz on the planet for me. So that's the outcome I want. You've all come here with a win for yourselves too, right? What's the win that you want to get out of today? And it's the same thing when we're talking with clients. I'm going to come back with you a little bit now, because as we explain this more, there should always be a win. However many groups are involved in this influencing discussion, everyone needs to get a win. The beautiful thing about a win is often for our clients, it's kind of easy, because the easy ones are what you're going to do. How is that going to make their job faster, easier, better? If it gives one of those three, it's a no-brainer, because it directly makes their job. So if I'm with Suzanne, she's going to make sure that I don't pay any more tax that I have to. Happy days, Suzanne. That's my win, right? So that's done straight away. If I come and I get my music lesson, I'm going, yay, finally, I can play the piano a bit better. It's a happy days. So whenever there's a faster, easier, better, that's an easier win for the client. Okay. If that's not going to be the case for the other person, look for something that they want. Okay, the classic thing of a benefit is something that they would like. And I think we sometimes get tangled up thinking about how big that benefit needs to be. It doesn't need to be big, it just needs to be a win for them. Okay. And some examples of that are, and you'll laugh, but do you remember some years ago when we had cheaper petrol on a Tuesday, and there'd be those long queues of people waiting to fill up with their petrol, right? And sometimes they waited more than 20 minutes in the queue to get their petrol. And how much did they save? Less than the price of a cappuccino. So really, tell me that was good use of your time. Okay? And we might go, yeah, that was really silly. I didn't do that. I didn't do that either. But you know what? When I go to a hotel, if the little samples of shampoo and conditioner, if they're really good, I take those with me and go, these are really good for traveling and they're free. I don't go, I just paid, $270 for these last night when I stayed in the hotel. I go, oh, that's so lovely. They're really nice and they're complimentary. We've all got little things. Look at the loyalty cards in cafes. Okay? Buy 20 coffees and you get one discounted price if you buy it between 3 and 4 hours in the afternoon on a Thursday. Like, really? But look at the loyalty cards. There's heaps. Buy 20, get one free. Oh, yeah, that's good. Okay? So the size of the win doesn't matter as long as it feels like it's a win to the person. Okay? Then it is a win to them. How will you find that out? If it's not faster, easier, better, which is the easy win, it's called asking them. That's why relationships matter. That's again why that speaking to people matters. Okay? Most of the time in business for us, whether it's internally or whether it's externally, there'll be a specific win for them, which is why they're talking to you in the first place. Yeah. And you need to make sure that there's also a win for you. Notice that the question wasn't, is this a win? The question was, what's the outcome? What's the win? We need to be really good at saying, what's the win for this person? Because if you go, that means there isn't one, or you haven't thought of it yet. When we go, is this a win-win? It's too easy. Oh, yeah, I think so. We're not really asking the question. We're just ticking a box we'd like to have ticked. Okay, so what's the win for each person in that game, because you want to be able to articulate that as well. Okay. Step 2. Step 3, look confident. I'm going to share this with you. It isn't that you've been secretly drinking when we're here. The image is a little bit blurred, but I still love it because of the image that it is. And you'll see that little cat walking down past the dogs. And if the cat didn't look confident, there is no way on the planet those dogs are not going to be after it, right? So the truth of confidence is, in our society, when people look confident, we think they're competent. If you look like you've got it, we think, oh yeah, she's pretty, you're thinking right now, yeah, Di, she knows what she's talking about here, right? If it ends up that I talk complete rubbish, you won't trust me anymore, totally. But it starts off, if I look confident, you think, oh yeah, she knows what she's talking about. Okay? So looking confident is more important than being confident. Okay? Most of us, if we're going into if it was a significant negotiation or a big presentation where the stakes are pretty high, or you think, oh my gosh, there's all these people, or there's these important people, of course we're going to be nervous. That's normal. Okay? People say to me, oh, are you joking? I'm nervous before I come on today because I want to do a great job. So Stacey says, oh, should we just meet at 1:45, Di, to make sure everything goes? Yeah, of course we should. What was I doing 1/4 of an hour before that? Looking back over my notes, making sure that I knew what I wanted to say. checking that the sound was going to be okay. That's, in my head, that's called being professional. And if I'm not nervous, what it actually says is, I either don't care whether you learn anything today, or I think I'm so crack hot that of course I'm going to connect with it. Like, no, you don't know that. So that being a little bit nervous is, that's because we want to do a good job. The trick is that until I fessed up and told you I was, you don't know that I am. Okay. So that's what's important, that we look confident. And there's only, I know there's books written about confidence, but in my view, you need two things. Put your shoulders back, because that automatically makes us look confident. Our shoulders go back, our head comes up. So look out for your posture and make eye contact with people. That's all you have to do to look confident. And the minute you do that, you look confident. And that eye contact, there's a little trick with that. If you think about, you come into a room, making eye contact means you know the color of the person's eyes. If you don't know the color of their eyes, you haven't looked at them for long enough. If you've registered the color of it, great, then you've made eye contact with them. That's all we need to do to look confident. And in our society, as we said, people then believe that you know what you're talking about. In some ways, small as it seems, I think this is the most critical thing for a lot of people who are highly competent, but look nervous, and it just frustrates me because they don't get the credibility that they deserve, because they, if I go around looking at, hope you're all going to have a really good time today. I could be telling you the same stuff and you'll all have phone calls that you need to go to. So that looking confident, small as it sounds, is a really critical step. And if I just come back to briefly now to remember that when you're going in to influence somebody or to present or to go for a meeting or whatever it might be, the first time they see you, that's when you need to look confident. We tend to be focused, ready for the meeting. But actually, when I get out of the car park, in the car park, you might have already seen me. So I have to look confident from that point. Okay? And the truth is, if it's a big meeting or something that we do feel nervous about, yes, I do all of that in the car before anyone can see you. Because the minute you walk out, if I come to the door, I go, well, then, hello, I've just told at the very least the receptionist that I'm nervous, who are always awesome gatekeepers and have their finger on the pulse. But equally, what happens if I'm walking across the car park and the person I'm meeting is seeing me? I don't know that. I haven't met them yet. Okay. Same thing in lifts. Oh, my goodness. Make sure that when you jump in the lift, you look like you're ready, because you never know who's in the lift with you, and it could well be the person that you're coming in to meet with. Okay. So that looking confident is from the moment that I might be seen, because you actually can't control the first impression in terms of when it is. The first impression is obviously the first time anyone claps eyes on you. And that may well be long before you shake their hands in the meeting. Okay? So the game starts from the moment, if you're presenting at a conference, for example, it's when you first walk into that conference room, because people have seen your photo on the list, so they know that you're going to be presenting. Mm-hmm. So there is a game to be played in here, definitely, and it's the game of looking confident. Now, the beautiful thing is, looking confident and being confident, no one can tell the difference. God was so kind that he gave us bottoms out the back so that nobody could see them shaking when they're looking at our faces. Yeah. So it's like, make the most of that opportunity and say, when you walk in, like you own the planet, as it were, that's what people believe. Step number 4. Now there's a little technique, and it may mean doing some unlearning. Definitely it's a technique that is nearly always a bit of an aha moment for people, and it's the technique of yes and. Think about what often happens when we go to someone and we go, oh yes, but I see where you're coming from, but the minute we hear but, we know the answer's not yes, right? We know this is yes, but we've got those other customers, yes, but the money we've got, yes. Every time there's yes but, we know after but comes something ugly. So but is a swear word. You might not have realized that until today, but is a swear word and it's banned. We're going to replace it with yes and. And notice that I've got yes, comma, and. Okay. probably a million years ago, we were at school, we remembered reading out loud, and when there was a yes, and when there was a comma, sorry, you had to do a little pause. Yes, even better if you know their name. Yes, Katrina. Because when there's a pause, that's Katrina has, yes, she said, oh, this is good. I'm already getting what I want. She's told me yes. Yes, Katrina. And then you're going to carry on with the next part. And tell me a little bit more about that. So if Katrina gives me an idea that I think, are you joking, Katrina? That is crazy. I need to say, not, yeah, but I see where you're coming from. No, yes, Katrina, and tell me a little bit more about that. Notice my tone as well. It's a researcher, not a judge. Because I can go, yes, Katrina, and tell me a little bit more about that. That's not a researcher, that's a judge, right? Yes, Katrina, and tell me a little bit more about that as a researcher. No matter what somebody has raised with you, the first thing they want is to be heard, and you want to get the layers underneath so that you can influence them. They're never telling us right on the top. Okay? There's nothing manipulative in it. It's just the rationale is sitting underneath that initial. So yes, and is great. And if you've got children, use the same thing. Don't let them hear that but word. It's a swear word. So yeah, and tell me a little bit more about that. Tell me what our options would be. Yes, and how would that play out? Yeah, what else could we do? So you can ask any question you like after that yes and. The yes and psychologically keeps people in. We've now got the chance to influence them. In the same thing, in our lovely customer service way, I'm really sorry, but I can't do that on Tuesday. I can do it on Wednesday. Another swear word. I'm really sorry, but can't. Look at all the ugly words in there. I'm really sorry. That's only if we've really messed up. Then absolutely we should say sorry. But like, I'm really sorry, but I can't do that is what's going on here. I'm really sorry, but can't. We hate those words. And if I'm really sorry, but I can't do that, then there's obviously something I can do. So it's not that you change what you were going to do. It's you change the words around it and therefore completely change the perception. Yes, I can. So our example here could be, I'm really sorry, but I can't get that to you on Friday, Stace. Yes, Stace, I can get that to you on Monday morning. It's not different, okay? It's still Monday morning that I'm going. Yes, I'm really sorry, but I can't get that to you on Friday. I can get it to you on Monday morning. Yes, I can get that to you on Monday morning. So what we're using is we think, oh my gosh, Stace asked for this Friday. I can't do it. So our thought is exactly that. Great. Turn the thinking, use that pathway from your brain to your mouth to yes, what can you? Yes, sure, Stace. Love to get that to you. I'll have it to you on Monday morning. It lets you take a control. It keeps the conversation moving forward, which is exactly what you want, because if the conversation's not moving forward, you're not going to be able to influence anyone. And you're going to have an impact, but it's going to be the wrong kind of impact. Yeah. So yes, and yes, I can. So if you think about the banned words are but, and the banned words are any, N apostrophe T. Couldn't, shouldn't, didn't, mustn't. That's just going to get pushback. Think of how much awful language we have in here. There is no battle going on. We're influencing people. We're getting a win-win. They're going to win and we're going to win. When that happens, of course, they'll keep wanting to play. It's the one difference between sport and business. In sport, clearly, you've got a winner and a loser. That's the whole point of playing sport. In business, you can create a win for you and a win for them. And my belief is you always should or you shouldn't play. So yes, and great little technique. And then we get to step 5, which is all about options. It's funny, I was just talking to a colleague this morning who I haven't worked with for many years, and I was sharing this with her and she said, oh my goodness. I said, did I not do that when we were working together? Thought I have been doing this for a million years now. This is gold, because think about what happens usually. We come in with our best solution. That's the way we've been trained. What's the best solution you can give me? What's the best business case? What's the best something? Well, you know what? If you come to me as a client with the best anything, I do have 2 choices. One is yes, and the other is no. So statistically, you've only got a 50-50 chance of winning. And the higher, if you're going to your manager, the higher the person is in the organization, the more they like making decisions and having power. I don't mean that nasty, not at all, but you like making decisions if you're a leader. So when we get given something, our human nature is to critique it. Here's what I was thinking we could do. Here's the great solution. I say to you, Suzanne, you go, thanks, Di, but you look at it and you critique it. Right? Not at all because you're not a nice person, because you are. I know. It's the part about, just give me this. Let me just see how this stacks up. We critique things when we make them stack up. So imagine instead I go to Suzanne and I go, been thinking about that issue that we had with that client, Suzanne. I've got two options for you. This one, A is blah and B is blah. Which one do you think we should go with? I can't say 100%, but I can say I've never seen it not work. Suzanne will choose A or B, and she'll choose it quickly, and there'll be no stress. And the only thing I have to be smart enough is to make sure that the two options that I'm giving her, look at the last part of that, I'd be happy to deliver on either of them. So your power is go, what are the two options that I would be happy and able to deliver? Because now you will win. So if you look at what we've just done, step 5 links right back to step 1. If there's not an obvious win-win, creating options gives a win. Okay. If you can't see a direct benefit for the other person, options creates a win for them because they get to choose. Restaurants have known this for a long, long time. It's called a menu. They don't come out to us and say, here's the best thing we've got on the menu for you. This is what you're going to really like to have for dinner tonight, Di, because they know I'm like, I don't really like broccoli or whatever I choose to say. So they don't, do they? They come out with a menu and they go, here are your mains. And yes, there's usually more than 2, but you don't need more than 2. This or this, which one would you like to choose? And I read through those mains and I choose one of them. It's exactly that same principle. We're just using it in all of our businesses instead of in a restaurant. So it's 2 options. They don't even have to be vastly different. So I can say, oh, that's great, Katrina. I can deliver that to you. I can bring it out to you personally on Tuesday, or I can send it through to you express post and it'll get to you on Thursday morning. Which of those would you prefer? It's not like they have to be this different. Often it's about how is it going to be delivered or what time, 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Should we meet at your office or my office? So those 2 options give you tremendous power because now you're in control. However, so is the other person. When I come with 2 options to Suzanne, I'm in control because I can deliver both of those. She's completely in control because she gets to choose the one she wants. Oh, hello, I've just created a win-win. Okay. Now notice there's a couple of things that are really critical. The 2 options must be presented simultaneously. So we need to say, I've got 2 options for you. Option 1 is blah and option 2 is blah. Because I think what we've done in the last year, we offer one and the person says no, and then we offer another. And oh, I've offered 2 options. No, you haven't. 2 options have to be simultaneously. A or B, which one would you like to choose? Okay. With the looking confident. So sometimes, of course, you go, she's, I hope she chooses one of them. Well, you know what? If you look like, hopefully one of these will be good for you, Suzanne. She probably won't. I have to go, Suzanne, there's 2 options for you. Notice, though, I didn't add anything. I've got 2 good options. I didn't put anything, and I don't think we should. Keep away from the adjectives there. You've got 2 options, this one and this one. Which one would you like to choose? They're not fantastic. They're not easy. They're not cheap. They're not anything. They're just 2 options. Then you go there with the confidence. Suzanne chooses one. We're now in a win-win. Remember the 60-30-10 again. Okay. I'm sure a question will come up about this. Sometimes we go, and my 3rd option is, you know, and that's totally, and I bet you we could all think, yeah, that's probably what that person would ask. This is where your confidence matters, you know, and to be honest, in Australia, it's also where our sense of humor is really useful, because if you know the person well enough and you know they've got a bit of a sense of humor, if I use you, Suzanne, I go, oh yeah, good try, Suzanne. The 2 options are, you know, and I just go there. If I go, oh, David's looking at me, I don't know if I don't know him at all yet, I'll just go back. Oh, the 2 options, David, are blah and blah. Just repeat it. Remember that you're repeating it with the same neutral, confident tone. Because if I go to David, the 2 options are, that just sounds completely condescending. Right? So our tone is always important, but the confidence is important. When you give 2 options, you'll find that 29 out of 30 people will just choose one of those options straight away. It's heaven. It's so easy and so quick. Oh, that was good. there'll be 1 in 30 who goes, and the third option? So that's when I'm ready to go, oh, yes, David, the 2 options are blah and blah. And guess what happens? 95% of those people who ask for a third option then choose one of those 2 options. There's this many people who go, I'm still looking for a third option. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Stace. So there's that part which says, if you wind back, giving those options lets you get a win, absolutely. It lets you get it quickly and with minimum stress, and it winds right back. If there's not an easy, faster, better, quicker option sitting in there as a win-win, you've created the win-win by creating those options at the end. Yeah. How many of you are parents? Me too. So like if they're little kids, it's like PJs and teeth, either order, you know, which one would you like to do first? Because we know what it's like. I want to put my PJs on. And let me tell you, we're laughing because we're talking little kids. Adults are no different. They just got more wrinkles and bigger feet. And if you don't believe me and you've got kids, you know full well that you say things to some adults and you go, really? Really? I wouldn't take that from my kids. It's exactly the same technique. Give them 2 options, they'll choose. And the more, I want to challenge myself and you in this space, the more, what shall I say? If we use the colloquialism, the more stubborn they are, the more determined they are to make the decision, the better they like options. Because straight away they'll make a quick choice. So for some of you, I know you've done the birds with me. If they're an eagle, eagles love options because they get to hold control and make the choice. You're completely holding control because you're the one in charge of giving the choices. Yeah. Now I'm seeing in the chat box there's questions, and I've seen Jen's hand up. So Stace, I'm going to wrap over to you to say question time. I think sometimes we go into breakout groups, but I'm thinking in our group today, let's just keep it questions all up. Are we comfortable with that? And we'll turn the recording off now. So this very much is just us. Ask anything, including, and if you want to ask about your boss, just call them Di. Okay, and then I'll know what you're talking about, and we'll answer the questions through that way too. Yeah, but I'll let.
Thank you so much to Diana Tapp from World Class Teams for that really information-rich session today, and thank you all to for joining us today from behalf of the Penrith Valley Chamber.